Hey everyone, today we're diving into how stories get made. And I'm not talking about in a Hollywood studio. I mean the stories that explode in the real world. The ones sparked by a single powerful moment, a few choice words, or, even a really awkward lunch.
So let me ask you a question. What on earth could a generation-defining tragedy
Have to do with a CEO trying out his own company's burger on camera. Well, it might sound crazy, but the answer tells us pretty much everything about how we make sense of the world, how stories are built, and why the thing that starts the story is almost never the whole story. You see, every huge story kicks off with an epicenter. It's that one powerful moment that sends shockwaves out in every direction. And it doesn't matter if it's a global catastrophe or just a cringy viral video, that moment becomes this primary source that forces everybody to react.
Okay, so let's start with maybe one of the most powerful epicenters in our lifetime. Right after the 9/11 attacks, the entire entertainment world just stopped. They were facing this insane crisis. I mean, suddenly every movie script, every TV show set in New York City had to be looked at again. The ground had literally shifted beneath their feet, and they had to figure out what to do next.
And their response was, well, it was massive. We are talking about something like 45 different films that had to be changed, either editing out sensitive scenes or just pushing back the release date entirely. This wasn't some tiny tweak. It was a fundamental rewiring of pop culture, and it happened in real time.
All right, now let's leap forward to a totally different kind of epicenter. This time, there's no tragedy, no big global crisis. Nope, it's just a CEO, a new hamburger, and his phone. But that one little video, that single moment, it also became a source. It kicked off its own kind of tidal wave, a digital one, made of memes and parodies and endless online arguments. And this brings us right to the heart of what we're talking about today. See, after the event happens, the really critical part is how we decode it. It's all about looking past what's on the surface and really digging into that gap between what someone meant to say and what the world actually heard. Let's start with that CEO. So in his video review of the new Big Arch Burger, McDonald's CEO Chris Kempczinski says, quote, "I love this product. It is so good." Now, if you just read the words, sounds fine, right? A totally positive review. But one little word made all the difference. And right here, you can see that disconnect perfectly. On the left, you've got the intended message. Hey, this burger's awesome. But on the right, that's what people actually perceived. By calling it a product, not food, and taking what the internet immediately called a hesitant nibble, the public's takeaway was, oh my God, this guy is being forced to eat this on camera and he clearly hates it. Now let's take that same idea, that gap between intent and perception, and apply it to something on a much, much bigger scale. For filmmakers right after 9/11, the question wasn't about selling a product, it was about how to treat an icon. The Twin Towers were already in so many movies that were about to come out. So what was the right message to send? Do you erase them or do you leave them in? And this just shows you the power of communicating with real authenticity. Cameron Crowe, who directed Vanilla Sky, he had to make that exact call. And he decided to leave the towers in the film, explaining his choice with this really powerful statement. His intent was so clear, so personal, and everyone understood it was the tribute he meant it to be. Just a world away from that CEO's video. But, Crowe's choice was just one way to go. The very first teaser trailer for Spider-Man, it was completely pulled. The towers were digitally scrubbed from the New York skyline in Zoolander. And get this, in Lilo and Stitch, they completely reanimated an entire chase scene to replace a Boeing 747 with a spaceship. Every single one of these choices was a different interpretation of that one source event, and each one created a totally different meaning for us, the audience. Right, because that first reaction, it's never the end. It's just the first ripple in the pond. From that point on, the story spreads. It gets twisted, it gets parodied, it gets built on, until it starts to take on a life of its own, completely separate from where it started. The McDonald's video is a perfect example of how fast this ripple effect moves today. I mean, within days, the president of Burger King posts his own, more authentic-looking response. Then old conspiracy theories start bubbling up again. And then the story completely flips. People start arguing that the cringe was actually a brilliant marketing strategy. It all ends with McDonald's itself leaning into the joke. The story just mutated at lightning speed. But in total contrast, the ripple effect from 9/11 wasn't about memes. It was this slow, deep current that permanently, fundamentally changed our culture. You couldn't measure its impact in days, you had to measure it in years, even decades. I mean, just look at how it played out on TV. The Twin Towers vanished from the opening credits of The Sopranos. A whole storyline in Friends about a bomb joke at the airport got scrapped and rewritten. Even Sesame Street started making new episodes to help little kids understand trauma. These weren't just quick edits, they were lasting changes that reflected a whole new world. So what's the big takeaway from all this? It's simple, really. Whether we're talking about a national tragedy or a silly viral video, the original source, that's just the first domino to fall. The real story, the one that matters, unfolds in the chain reaction that comes after. And that leaves all of us with a pretty simple toolkit for making sense of the world. First, you've got to consider the source. Who's talking? Why are they talking? What's the context? Second, you have to analyze the delivery. What are their words, their body language, their tone really saying? And third, track the reaction. Watch how the story changes and evolves as the rest of the world gets its hands on it. Honestly, every single thing we watch or read is a story built on these exact layers. So the next time you see a huge headline or a clip that's going viral, you'll have the tools. The only real question is, how are you going to read between the lines?